Good afternoon. Today is Friday, May 13th, 2016. And the news of the day comes from the Louisiana Department of Revenue. On Wednesday, May 11th, they issued this press release that is kind of a stern tone in this little nugget. And now, granted, this is 5 days before the due date of Louisiana individual income tax returns, and a reminder slash side note, an important side note. The As you recall, the floods and the severe storms back in mid March, early March, is what caused President Obama to declare much of North Louisiana in a state of disaster, and that was followed by the IRS's announcement that taxpayers, both individuals and businesses in those areas that we'll get into in just a second, are gonna have automatic 3-month extension, 2 months. I'm sorry, 3-month extensions with a new due date of July 15th, 2016, instead of April. And so that the Internal Revenue Service's announcement was issued on March the 23rd. And not a coincidence, no surprise, the Louisiana Department of Revenue issued a blog post and a bulletin information, just an informative bulletin on their website, along with a blog post. I'm almost word for word quoting what the Internal Revenue Service's announcement slash bulletin said. So, from March 23rd through May the 11th, 2 days ago, we're rocking along, and for the most part, everybody's thinking, okay, well, we've got till July, and then Wednesday, May 11th, hits, and the Revenue Service posts a press release to their website with this new jargon on it, and like I said before, this completely different tone than their other, releases had been. Basically, at first they're saying, yeah, you're gonna have extra time, and then bam, all of a sudden, 5 days before the returns due, before returns are due. Oh, nope, sorry, y'all have taxpayers. Y'all have to have permission from us. There's no automatic extensions for those of you who are living in the disaster areas identified by the federal government, and just tough luck. Get your returns in on time, and no reprieve. Just disregard the fact that you just had to go through a lot of people had to go through significant flooding, and just it's really quite um, infuriating, embarrassing. Just it's a lot of things actually, but it is what it is. And a little bit more details on the press release. It does give two options, two different alternatives in ways which taxpayers, in ways which we can seek the what's now called disaster related extension, which means you not only have time to file 3 months later, or 2 months later, excuse me, instead of May and July, but you also have the extra 2 months to pay. And the two ways that can be done is depending on how you file. If you file electronically, then the return, it's just unbelievably how crazy and off the beat this is. But in order to get an extension, if you electronically file, you have to file the return first, which in and of itself is just counterintuitive to how it's normally done. But after you file your electronic return, you call this customer service center and request an extension due to living in a disaster area by phone. Again, just absolutely positively counterintuitive to how it's ever worked. But the other alternative is if you file on paper. Um, Again, you have to file the return to get an extension. Anyway, uh, to get the quote unquote, disaster related extension, you have to write the words LA, abbreviation for Louisiana, flooding 2016 on top of the first page of the IT 540. Um, and a blog post, I've got to put a blog post out there, and the section I'm going on to is potential pitfalls for everybody that this can cause, and I apologize for the smirks, but there are many. There's just a lot of ways that this could trip people up, and far be it from me to say that the Louisiana Department of Revenue is doing this on purpose, but this is unprecedented, the way that they're handling this, and then what they're asking taxpayers to do, especially given that, oh, just 6 weeks ago, many of us were suffering or dealing with, very, very bad weather and flooding, storms. Anyway, a few of the main things that I want to talk about are, to help everybody to avoid is, again, the Louisiana Department of Revenue is not taking the stance that the IRS is, and we cannot just get automatic extensions with the IRS. The IRS is allowing just automatic extensions. You don't have to file the extension. You just, if you're in those affected disaster areas, you automatically have the extension, which gives you until July 15th, 2016 to file and pay. And that's not the case for Louisiana. Make no mistake about it, that's not the case for Louisiana. And by the way, the due date for Louisiana tax returns is Monday, May 16th. And the next pitfall is if you are somebody that files on paper, you don't electronically file, you fill out your return on paper and mail it in. Do not forget to write the LA flooding 2016 on the top page of your tax return, Louisiana tax return. And if you forget that, I got a feeling it's going to be tough luck. So don't forget to write that. Again, check out the blog. There's a blog post that has all this in writing. www.writeaccountingblog.com. The post title is "Warning: Don't count on disaster relief extension from LDR." The last little pitfall that, well, not the only last one, but the last one we discussed today is if you're going to electronically file your return and you're in a disaster area looking to get the extension, the special extension, the disaster relief extension, just be prepared to sit through an hours long telephone call, because this is apparently how it's going to be done. Gonna, first time in history as far as I'm concerned, call in after you file your return, call the customer center. That number again is at the blog post, and you're going to, over the phone, request an extension because you are a taxpayer living in a disaster area of Louisiana affected by the March 2016 floods and storms. Just be prepared for, who knows, I'd be surprised. Consider yourself lucky if you actually make that call, get somebody on the phone, because again, far be it from me to say that the LDR is doing this on purpose, but I just don't buy that that's going to work, frankly. Anyway, but that's something that could trip up a lot of people. I think it will, and I think LDR intends to cash it to the bank with charging penalties and interest. But anyway, a few recommendations. Stop procrastinating at this point. I know a lot of you are probably, oh, hey, great, we got this, automatic extension because of the floods. Well, no, not anymore. Not for the state, at least. Not for Louisiana. Yes, you're right about for the feds, but not for Louisiana. Just, I realize that today's Friday, May 13th, and then that the due date is Monday, May 16th, so there's not much time, and I understand if you can't get your return done. But I strongly, strongly suggest to do the best you can to try to, at least at the bare minimum, get your stuff together, develop a good estimate so that you can at least cut a check with your extension and go ahead, because you're not going to get the extra time to file. It doesn't look like to pay. I'm sorry, and file actually, but then next I'd say I rarely would ever say this in this day and age, but you may seriously want to consider filing on paper this year because if you're going for the disaster relief extension route, um, there's only one or two ways, and it depends on how you file. The Either the telephone call route or the writing the LA flooding 2016 route on top of the page one, and I just have more faith in the writing the LA flooding 2016 on the top page will work. I have more confidence, frankly, that will be a more effective way to actually get it, but it's very rare that I would recommend filing on paper, but this is one case. This is not an ordinary case, not a normal situation. So, first time for everything. And then lastly, as you can tell by my demeanor this afternoon, little flabbergasted at the way this turned out, and more than anything, disappointed. Just feel like this was handled just absolutely, completely the wrong way, and that people, including myself, are misled by the powers that be, and it's really disappointing that our Louisiana government is treating its citizens this way, especially citizens that 6 weeks ago went through a nasty flood, severe storms, and oh, by the way, yeah, we're not giving you any extra time to check books out and write us our money. But by the way, we're not going to just tell you that in advance. We're going to wait 5 days. We're going to make you believe, or lead you to believe, that you've got time. In reality, you don't. But anyway, that's all for today. Have a great weekend.